Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari. Jaya Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari. Jaya Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Radha Vallabha Shri Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Prala Narsimha Dev Prala Narsimha Dev Prala Narsimha Dev Prala Narsimha Dev Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol जय हो मिस्टर पद परम स्तोत्र श्री श्रीमती शिल प्रभुपाद की ISKCON फाउंडर शिल प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की शील हरदार ठाकुर की नामजय सिद्धार्थ की श्री श्री गौनिता की श्री श्री राधोल भगवान की श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बसोधर्म की ऑल गुरुस असेंबल डिवोटीज हरे कृष्णा ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की हरे कृष्णा Hare Krishna. So today we are reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 7. You all see Canto 7. So this is called as Signs of God. So chapter number 7. The title of chapter is Prahlad instructs his demonic schoolmates, the instruction of Prahlad for his schoolmates. And today we got verse 7. I thought we'll also cover verse 8. So these two verses tell us about the time, our activities during that different stages of our life. So in yesterday verse, it was discussed about that every living entity is awarded 100 years of life. Now, what did they do during the 100 years? Of course, there was a discussion about spending half of that in sleeping. That was yesterday discussed. And today we will see what to do during next 50 years. Okay? So that is very nicely covered in the verse number 7 and also verse number 8. And of course, so different activities in different stages of life throughout the duration. Some of them will elevate a person, some of them actually degrade a person. Okay? So we will see both at high level what elevates and what degrades. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So verse number 7 from chapter 6 of Canto 7 of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. First we will read word by word, then we'll read the full verse. Mugdhasya Bale Kesore Kridataha Yati Vimsatiha Jaraya Grahtadehaya yati akalpasya vimsatiha mugdasya bale kishore mugdasya bale kishore kridatayate vimsatiha kridatoyate vimsatiha jaraya grasta dehasya jaraya grasta dehasya yati alkapasya vimsatiha yati alkapasya vimsatiha mugdasya bale kishore kridatoyate vimsatiha jaraya grasta dehasya yati alkapasya vimsatiha mugdasya bale kishore kridatoyate vimsatiha jaraya grasta dehasya yati alkapasya vimsatiha mugdasya bale kishore kridatoyate vimsatiha jaraya grasta dehasya yati alkapasya vimsatiha jaraya grasta dehasya kapasya vimsatiha. Mataji's jaraya grasta dehasya kapasya vimsatiha mugdasya bale kishore kridatoyate vimsatiha yati akalpasya vimsatiha mugdasya bale kishore kridatoyate vimsatiha yati alkapasya vimsatiha. Okay, so now we read word-to-word translation. Mugdasya, of a person bewildered or not in perfect knowledge. Bale, in childhood. Kishore, in boyhood. Kridataha, playing. Yati, passes. Vimsatiha, 20 years. Jaraya, by invalidity. Grasta deyasya, of a person overcome. Yati, passes. Kalpasya, without determination. Being unable to execute even material activities. Vimsatiha, another 20 years. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. In the tender age of childhood, when everyone is bewildered, one passes 10 years. Similarly, in boyhood, engaged in sporting and playing, one passes another 10 years. In this way, 20 years are wasted. Similarly, in old age, when one is an invalid, unable to perform even material activities, one passes another 20 years wastefully. Purport: without Krishna consciousness, one wastes 20 years in childhood and boyhood, another 20 years in old age, when one cannot perform any activities and is in full of anxiety about what is to be done by sons, grandsons, and how one's estates will be protected. Half of these years are spent in sleep. Furthermore, one wastes another 30 years sleeping at night during the rest of his life. Thus, 70 out of 100 years are wasted by a person who does not know the aim of life and how to utilize the human form. So here Prabhupada is talking about how 70 years got wasted. Then next left is 30 years. So next we'll read the next verse also. So what happens in the next 30 years? Duruprena kamenu mohena cha balisya shesham grestu sektasya paramatne stapayatihi. Translation: one whose mind and senses are uncontrolled become increasingly attached to family life because of insatiable lusty desires and very strong illusion. In such a madman's life, the remaining years also wasted, because even during those years he cannot engage himself in devotional service. The purport: so this is the account of 100 years of life. Although in this age a lifetime of 100 years is generally not possible, even if one has 100 years, the calculation is that 50 years are wasted in sleeping, 20 years in childhood and boyhood, and 20 years in jara vyadhi, in invalidity. This leaves only a few more years, but because of too much attachment to household life, those years are also spent with no purpose, without God consciousness. Therefore, one should be trained to be perfect brahmachari in the beginning of life, and then to be perfect in sense control, following the regulative principles. If one becomes a householder, from householder life, one is ordered to accept vanaprastha life and go to the forest and then accept sannyasa. This is the perfection of life. From the very beginning of life, those who are ajitendriya, who cannot control their senses, are educated only for sense gratification, as we have seen in the Western countries. Thus, the entire duration of life of even 100 years is wasted and misused. And at the time of death, one transmigrates to another body, which may not be human. So at the end of 100 years, one who has not acted as a human being in life of tapasya, that is austerity and penance, must certainly be embodied again in a body like those of cats, dogs and hawks. Therefore, this life of lusty desires and sense control is extremely risky. Om Ajnana Trimindasya Jnananjala Salakaya Chaksurulimittamena Tasme Sri Guruve Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnapadaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namini Namaste Sursadevi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pachata Teshatani Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktavanda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So this verse is spoken by who? Prahlad Maharaj. So he is speaking to his classmates. As chapter says, Prahlad Maharaj is instructing the demonic schoolmates. So actually last week, exactly on Friday, 1 week ago, so we discussed about the setting of the school, wherein Prahlad Maharaj, in a very friendly, smiling. So he is speaking to his classmates during what time? School break, that is lunch time. Okay, intermission. So during lunch break time, they were having discussion. At that time, his classmates also sat around him nicely. So with very eagerness and with open heart, they were also listening. Of course, in last 6 days, we heard the different instructions given by Prahlad Maharaj to the student, his classmates. There were today 7th verse, that means 6 verses. And each of these verses are very, very powerful. So if you remember, the first one, Prahlad Maharaj is talking about. So this human form of life is ati durlabha, very rare to achieve. Therefore, what to do? He is saying that right from childhood, start devotional service. So he is saying that Kaumar arjate prajano. That was the first instruction. So human form of life is very rare, very precious. So please start in bhakti right from the beginning, in the childhood itself. So that was the first instruction. So then he also talks about, so there are many forms of life, not just human form. So they all want to enjoy. So he's saying that the enjoyment that anyone is expecting, the same enjoyment is available in all the forms, whether this living being is a cat, a dog, or an elephant, or a human, ant, Brahma, Indra. For everyone, the enjoyment they are trying to derive from senses, in kind of sense object, is actually same. So difference, maybe humans are having a, maybe opulent house where they enjoy, but others, living beings, are just enjoying on a street or the ground, correct? So that's what's happening in the forest. The elephants generally live in forest, tigers generally live in forest, but these days they also live in zoo, like Melbourne Zoo. If you go to Melbourne Zoo, there are various kinds of animals are there, so they are also enjoying. But whatever humans enjoying and those animals, insects, beasts enjoying, same. There's a second more instruction he is giving. So therefore, human should not waste all their time just only in sense gratification. That's the second instruction. And the third, obviously we engage in artha, economic development. So when you take a birth in this life as a human, obviously you also have to work to earn so that you can maintain your body. So that is artha, earning. Then using that artha for kama, sense gratification. If one is engaged only these two, artha and kama, so Prahlad Maharaj says it is simply waste of time, waste of life. Srama evi kevalam. So in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam you will see that such activity is simply waste of time. Only srama. So much of srama to get some artha, some money. Then using that money for only sense gratification, it is simply waste of life. So that is the third most important instruction is given. So then therefore, he is saying when the body is fit and stout and strong, what do? At that time, engage that body in some bhakti, devotional service. Make your mind divine consciousness. That's what Prabhupada says, Krishna consciousness. Krishna is the divine, the highest divine being in all the worlds. So make your mind conscious of such divine. Then you will achieve happiness. So that is talked about. Then of course, yesterday verse, which is 6. Now, of course, you got human body and you are stored. How long you will live? Are all the living beings, whether they are in any form, whether they are aquatic forms or on land, moving, non-moving, Stavara Jangama. Stavara, the static, and Jangama, they are moving around. People like us moving around. Ants are moving, correct? Ants are moving from one place to another. Flies are also moving. They are flying actually. They are in flight mode. They fly from one place to another place. But we are walking. So whether they are Stavara, Jangama, moving or non-moving, these beings, so they all have 100 years of life. 100 years, normally we might think our time, correct? So the Krishna, who is the creator of all this life form, who created? Ultimately he is the seed-giving father. So Krishna says, Sarva Yonis Kaunteya, correct? And he is also seed-giving father. Bija Pitamaha. So he is the one who is giving seed-giving father. Therefore, he is the ultimate father of all the living beings. So in all kinds of forms. So he is the one who is awarding. Of course, there are karma also comes in picture, past karma. In general, all of them are awarded 100 years. Because we are in material world, it's a relative world. In relative world, 100 years is different for each living beings. Even for example, simple, you are working. So working for 1 hour in Australia. So the minimum the government prescribed, you must pay him $25 per hour. Otherwise you can't employ the person. Correct? So $25. And the same 1 hour of time you go and work in India. How much they will pay you if you are a laborer? So there they will pay you in rupees. If you are lucky, they might give you 100 rupees. Okay, that is also very high. Let's say make it easy, 100 rupees. So here $25 and there 100 rupees. So if you try to convert this into Indian rupees, maybe it will become something like 2,500. That means that person is earning 25 times more than you. That's how we think. Correct? But actually their government, what they prescribing that $100 is sufficient for that person to have 2 meals. Just like here, you go to Crossways with $25, so concession, some $7, let's say, full, say $9 something. So you can have 2 meals. Correct? So that means you are 1 hour of work, ultimately the same thing from the sense gratification perspective. We think when I take it there and it may be more. Okay? Similarly, coming to the duration of life. Now these ants, correct? Ants sometimes you see moving around. So especially there near Charnamrita. If you have not seen ant in your life. So Charnamrita, because we take Charnamrita sometime, Charnamrita drops. So the sweet there and then the ants will come and try to also take some Charnamrita. Correct? Sometimes they actually climb into that pot, the patra in which we put container vessel and then drink from there. Very risky, correct? You go inside and somebody puts a spoon and then suddenly the Charnamrita shakes, then it will get deep into the Charnamrita itself. It happens if you are a careful observer. Okay, anyway, so very risky, that's why they try to drink just wherever it is fallen. So that's how they live their life. So and these ants only live for a few weeks. But during those few weeks, they will do everything that we do. Correct? So they born, janma happens, then they grow like a child, grow a little bit and then become adult. Then adult, you can't sit down, keep quiet. Their mothers or fathers will go and get something from there. This child will go very, very fast, then pick up some sugar, pick up some leaf, then walk carefully and bring it to the home. Like that they spend for another 2-3 weeks. Janma Murdu, then they will also become sick by working too hard, become old age, then finally die. That is 100 years. That is in Krishna's, in that small ant, that is 100 equivalent. So we also have human forms also having 100 years. So now in this verse it says, out of those 100 years, Mugdasya. Mugda. We say, oh, this person is very mugda. Means very, sometimes we say innocent or ignorance or bewildered. Maybe they don't know too much. Sometimes we say this person is very mugda, even if they are age of 20, 30, 50 also. Correct? So sometimes people say, oh, this person is very sadhu. He is not a really saintly person, but don't know much, not worldly, If you tell him, hey, can I have this, your land for 100 rupees or $20? He says, yes, okay, take it. Means people cheat that such mugda person. And sometimes, so these are born in a family of Vaishyas, the business people. And that fellow, his father says, oh, I'm just going out to nature call. Please look after the store. If that fellow is there, people come and cheat that person. They will just say, oh, here is 1 rupee and give me that Parle-G biscuit, which is usually 5 rupees. Correct? So like that, this is Mugdasya. So Mugdasya, Bale Kishore. So Bale is Bala, is childhood. So something like first 10 years, like this Gokul. Correct? Then Kishore, so 10 to 20, something like, his sister. Correct? Or maybe you are also 10 plus, right? Yeah. So during that period. So Kridato Yati Vimsatiha. Kridato Yati means time passes. What do they do? Vimsatiha, 20 years. That first 20 years, they spend time in Kridato, that is playing. And if you see some of the kids, most of the time, when they were born, most of the time they sleep as a child. The previous verse says, the 50% of time is spent in sleeping. So out of 100 years, 50% spent in sleeping. That means 12 hours per day sleeping. So the 50 gone. Especially in the childhood. The babies, what do? So they cry. When they cry, they need to be fed. That means they are hungry. When they are hungry, they cry. When they are feeling uncomfortable, they cry. So when they are comfortable, they are playing. They are happy. Then after that, because they can't run around, correct? They can't run from house to the temple or go to the ground and run around. So their play will be just on the bed, cradle, playing. Sometimes you put some bird, small, like a toys. They will be playing a little bit, then sleep. Most of the time they are sleeping. So sometime 14 hours, 15 hours. You imagine if they are not sleeping, they are active all the time, demanding. So it will be difficult for the mother. So nature gives them more and more rest so that mother can engage in other activity. Okay, that is how first 10 years is gone. Then remaining 10 years, they become very active, very strong. Now they are strong legs, strong hand. They can jump around, run around. They climb a tree, jump down. Some of them they climb a wall, jump. So they do all kind of things. So according to this verse, so we see, but there is mugda. They are completely ignorant of goal of life. So in that ignorant state, 20 years gone. That is the first phase of life. Then you go to the last phase of life. So the verse number 7 talks about Jara-grasta dehasya, Jaraya. That is old age. So the last phase, the last 20 years, the person is very weak. Correct? At that time they can't run fast also. They go very slow. So, and also sometimes they have third leg, one more stick like sannyasis. They will have a stick and try to go slowly. That one stick is also difficult. Then they take a two or like a moving, like a small toy type of vehicle type, then hold it and move. Correct? We know all of this. So during that period, they cannot perform anything, any physical activity. But their mind is very, very active. So that 20 year, yakta akalpasya vimasatiha. So this vimasatiha is occurring twice in this verse. First 20 years in sleeping and playing gone. The next last 20 years, invalidity, unable to perform any material activities, but mind is very active. What do they do? So here Prabhupada in purport, he talks about, they are in full of anxiety. What are the anxiety about? They have actually earned enough money, made lot of wealth. Correct? They made a lot of wealth. You see some of the people, so they work very hard, they become millionaires, have a lot of property, but they are full of anxiety. What are the anxiety about? Anxiety about their sons and daughters. Will this person continue our family tradition of continuing our business nicely? They not only worry about their son, they also worry about grandson. Easy going to good school, so easy, studying well, easy going to become a big engineer, easy going to, become a next generation businessman like me. So they think so much. And some of them who are politicians, even at the age of 90, you go through some living past prime ministers of India, just search on internet, you will find some names. Some of them are already 91, 92. Some of them were chief minister of big states. Correct? They already held this position like chief minister, prime minister, highest position. Still they are not satisfied, full of anxiety. What is their anxiety? They want to make not only their son win and become a chief minister, they also want to make their grandson, make them stand for election, sometime go, then of course election people have respect for this old elderly person. They go and request them to vote for this grandson. At the age of 90, 91, hardly you can speak also, hardly you can walk. The person has to be almost held by 2-3 people, carry there, put them on a chair, and then cry. They will cry also. I have done so much for all of you. Please vote for my grandson. Correct? So much of anxiety, crying. Some of them not only want their grandsons to win, they also want themselves also to win. The person, has won election for 10 times, then became chief minister, then became prime minister. Even already became 80, 90. Still they want to stand for election. And yet what happens? People, won't vote for that person. He will get defeated. Imagine, you became a prime minister of a country, now you just go and stand for election and they will defeat you. The same people will defeat you. They don't vote for that person. At that time, the rest of the life will become miserable. You will think, look, the first 8 years, without caring about my own well-being, my physicality, my spirituality, I simply engage in serving these fellows. But now they defeated me. So this is a danger. This is actually real. So this is not a fact. Without naming a person, you can search yourself, you will find out that 90 years, still so much of anxiety. Then on top of it, if they have got lot of property, then they worry about, here Prabhupada talks about, how estates will be protected. How to protect estate. So whatever property they made, and they want to make sure that this property goes to their grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren who are not even born. They worry about people, prospective, like grandchildren, let us say like Gokul age. And this fellow worries about what will happen to grandson of this Gokul. Gokul itself is a small boy. Now he worries about how much money I have to earn to make sure that Gokul's grandson also has enough high standard living. He will live in a nice, bigger house in Albert Park. Like that, they worry. So this is how the time gets wasted. So then of course, here you see, in the previous verse we heard that, half of the life is gone in sleeping. Okay? So now, anyway, here, how much time, has gone? The first 20 years gone in playing, and the last 20 years gone in invalidity and worry. What is left? Let's say a person lives for 100 years. This is not possible. Let's say they live for 100 years. So 40 years gone. First 20 years gone in playing, the last 20 years is simply gone in worrying, helpless condition. So left is 60 years. 20 equal to 40. Then 100 minus 40 is 60. And the previous verse says that half of the life person spends in sleeping. Means out of that 60, so let us say half of that goes in sleeping related activities. So what is left is 30 years. Then what do they do in that 30 years? And that is the verse number 8. So here you talk about Durupena, Kamena, Mohena, Cha, Baliyasya. So during that period, so his Kama and Moha. Kama and Moha are uncontrolled and very strong. Mohena Baliyasya. Mohena Cha Baliyasya. This Moha, illusion, is very strong. Plus this Kamena. Kama is so strong, and also that cannot be satisfied at all. Can you satisfy this Kama? Impossible. Correct? So this Kama desires for sense gratification, or something like you go to the ocean here and you count waves. You just sit down at the seashore and watch waves. Can you count how many waves are coming? You count 1 wave, 2 waves. It's continuously coming. Correct? Continuously waves are coming. Endless. Your whole life, even if you count, no end. Just like that, our desires, especially material desires, especially desire for sense gratification, are endless. Endless. Even in old age. In old age, people may not have a teeth. Even if you check, no teeth are there. But the desire for eating muruku, using sabji, special nice tasty things is not gone. Correct? You take artificial teeth and eat. So all kinds of things. Desire is not going. That is, desire for, tongue tasting. So this is not going. Like that, any other also. Even the Kama. Sexual desire also not going away. People have desire. Even in the invalid age. Prabhupada, in many lectures he mentioned about, people take monkey's gland and put it to their human, so that they can enjoy this sexual life. Even at the age of 60, 70, 80. So, this is all happening. You can see this Kama, uncontrolled, that can't be satisfied, very strong. Then, Shesham Grahesu Sektasya. Shesham means the remaining. If I say 2 minus 1, what is left? 1. Correct? 10 minus 5, what is left? 5. That is called Shesha. You ask your mother or father in those time, 50 years ago when we were studying this kind of simple calculation, they will say, Hattu minus 5, 10 minus 5. What is the Shesha? How much is left? Correct? That is Shesha. That is left. So out of that 30 years that is left, Shesha Grahesu Sektasya. So here, Grahesu. Grahesu means, of course, family life. So then, Sektasya, that is attached. The remaining that life that is left, very little. Prime time of person. That time is full attachment to the family. So Prahlad Maharaj, first time when his father asked, what is the best thing you learned? He says, all these humans are fell into Andhakupa. Andhakupa. Kupa means the well. Andha means dark. Correct? If you go to a well, nobody puts a lighting arrangement inside. There is no need. Correct? You simply put a pipe and suck the water out of the well. How many of you have seen well? If you see, go to the Kunda, for example. Kunda is actually not well. Very deep well. Usually the small size and the deep dug, something like 20 meter, 30 meter, 50 meter. Now they call bore well. Bore well hole is only this much. But they dig hundreds, 500 meter also to get the water from the earth. Correct? All our things are coming from earth only. Right? Water is in the earth. The whatever we are growing, farming, all the food is coming from earth. Avocado is coming from earth. Correct? Tomato, if you like, coming from earth. The water is coming from earth. So they dig borewell and take some water there. So it is dark. Inside is fully dark. Andhakupa. So this family life he is considered only attached to the family members fully, the rest of the remaining 30 years, fully with that family, and such people fell into Andhakopa. That's what Prahlad is saying. That is the instruction to his father. So he also told, what should you do? He says, go to Vana, and there you take shelter of Supreme Lord. Correct? You remember? First time he said. So that is what happened. Parametasya ati he. So that means such a madman is wasting the remaining years by engaging in sense gratification. So you can see, so whole life, 100 years in general, if you are not conscious of divine, then we are only conscious of our material body and its associated things, how to enjoy. The full 100 years is simply wasted. Srama evi kevalam. Then what happens after that? So Prabhupada says, in that consciousness, when they leave a body, next form of life is also waiting. Sarma yonishu kunteya. So Krishna is there, he is Bija. Aham Bija, So he is the one who is going to sit giving father, Bija Pita. So he will give you next form. Likely they are not human. So here Prabhupada says, explicitly. So they will achieve again body like cats, dogs, hawks, and even snake also. Who will achieve snake body? Imagine this old person, the last 20 years, was richest person, but worried about this property because his sons or grandsons, nobody is that responsible. They learned all the bad habits. These people are going to swindle. I worked so hard, so much, but these people are going to spoil this. I have to protect somehow. They're thinking, I have to protect somehow this. And in that consciousness, they finished. Correct? In that, with the desire to protect the property that they earned, and if they give the body with their desire, the next form of life is snake. And the snake will be in that house only. He will come to that house, try to protect. If you try to go there, correct? You see? Or sometime in the field, it happens also in the field. You run out in the field, that happens. Okay? So that is why these desires of protection, desire for earning enough so that your great grandchildren also, flourish, and they will bring the family name, correct? They will still be known as great politicians or great business people, correct? The empire will continue. Yeah. In the event, if they don't have if they don't have a son or daughter, they will try to adopt some most close relative and give them that same name and continue. Some of this desire is very, very strong. Yeah. So that is what happened. So in between, Prabhupada gives a solution. So what to do? So now this time that we are talking about, what is this time actually? Time is Krishna. How do we know? Krishna is in Bhagavad Gita. So he says in chapter, in universal form, that is chapter 11. So Krishna says, Kalosmi. Asmi means I am. Kala, mighty time. The time is so powerful force. Sometime you have magazine called Time. You heard about this Time magazine? Yeah. So if your name appears in the Time magazine, it means you are one of the greatest achiever in this world. Correct? And if they put your photo on the cover page, just like we got in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, the cover page, on your photo, if they put your photo, it means you did some great accomplishment this year and you are called Man of the Year or Woman of the Year. You pick up, you go to Albert Park Library. If you don't want to spend and buy Time magazine, just go there, you will find the old issues also. You will see Time. So, the cover. So, different persons are featured. And usually, Person of the Year. Correct? So, Person of the Year must be great person. Accomplished materially. If not accomplished materially, the person may also be accomplished in mode of goodness. He helped so many people during this, let's say, COVID. When this coronavirus was there, everybody was locked down at home. Correct? Everybody was stuck at home. If someone gives a solution magically, kills that coronavirus everywhere, and such person will be called as Person of the Year. Correct? Such a person. If it is immediate solution, nobody will recognize that person. But if they suffered for 2020, 2021, 2-3 year lockdown, then you come out with a solution, then people recognize. Otherwise, people won't recognize you. If you give immediate solution, you have to make them suffer. Then you give a solution. This solution is very important, very precious. Because of the solution, we are surviving the next whatever year left. Okay, this time magazine. So this time is mighty, very powerful. So Krishna says, I am time. Why did he say this? Because Arjuna asked Krishna, I see you in so many forms. In universal form you exhibited. So, and all, with your force of time. And in the universal form, I can see the past, I can see the future also. You imagine? Just be here, what happens after 100 years, where I am in 100 years' time. You can see through Krishna's universal form. What is the state? 100 years' time, I don't know where I am. But if I see Krishna's universal form, Krishna knows past, present, future. That's why we call him Bhagavan. Precisely, where you will be born, who will be your parents. Will you be in Australia? Will you be in Indraloka? Will you be in Vaikuntha Loka? Or will you be in Pataloka? Or which universe? Everything is known to Krishna. So time. Sometimes a time machine. Time machine can take you to backward, can take you to the future. This time. Time is Krishna. So this time is very, very powerful. So that is why, so we have to use this time very, very, efficiently. Otherwise, it can be very dangerous. Sometimes, suppose, let's say you don't spend time like this, but you become a scientist. You study well, material education, and you are very expert in physics, very expert in mathematics. What do? You go on, maybe you become a big researcher. So, these days the government will give you money to explore your research. And they will give more easily. If you say,